Oh yeah, this is not financial advice, and you already know the stock market is closed, but it's crypto weekend, baby, and we got a lot to talk about. I want to say shout out to everybody who's in the building. I know some of you can't make it to the early live stream, so we're gonna hit you with a night live today, baby. It's Friday night live. Let's get it. I love to see it. So first of all, as you walk in, as you roll in, as you stroll in, I want you to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and then let's talk about a lot of different things. So the first thing that I want to bring to your attention, hold up. Here we go. Shout out to you, family. Much love. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I see you, baby. Let's get it. So take a look at this. I want to show you something that I saw because there's a lot of things going on in the market. Shout out to Detroit. Let us know if you in the building, baby. It's Friday night live. We lit. We about to get it together. Listen, they say we social distancing, but I'm here with you, baby. We still here together. Let's get it. Even though, if you heard my last live stream, we haven't heard much about the pandemic in a long time, right? It's like we on to the next thing. But let's keep it going. Shout out to Colorado Springs. I see you, big dog. Augusta, Georgia. We in the building. So, family, again, like I always do, Gene Thornton, always love. It's always love. I always like to show you something that you may or may not have seen before. I want you to come into my live streams, come to my videos, and every single time I want you to learn something. So let's check this one out together. You ready? So look at this. There's a concept called bearish divergence, and it's a warning sign for investors not to buy the dip in the stock market, right? Take a look at this. When you look at the stock, it runs up. The stock is going up, but the RSI is going down. This is a sign that the dip is gonna dip again, at least in the short term. And you know what? Remember, the stock is going up, the RSI is going down. I've seen this before. Guess where? Take a look for yourself, family. Let me open up the RSI for you right here, and let's look at the stock going up right here, and then the RSI. Let's have that open up for us. Here we go with Weeble. Hold up, Weeble. Hold up. Here we go. Here we go. Take a look. Stock going up. RSI is coming down. So, bearish divergence. What does this mean? This means that, and again, I want to just teach you every time. When it's time to buy the dip, sometimes you just got to chill. And you don't buy every single dip. Sometimes you just literally chill. But if it dips enough and it gets to oversold territory, then we start to buy these dips. And I want to give a shout out to, again, Gene Thornton. Yo, come on now, let's go. He just said $10 super chat. Much love again. Y'all never had to send me these, but I know you do it out of love, and I appreciate y'all for that. And again, major love. So my dog, hold up, I gotta get you with it. My dog. But we talking about it, baby. So again, I'm not trying to scare you. I just want to prepare you, and I want to teach you basically how to read some of these things, how to see what's going on in the market. So when you see it pumping up, what does this tell you? To be fearful? No. It tells you we're gonna get a red day in the near future, and then we could load up again. That's all it's telling you, baby. So it's telling you, look, you trying to buy the dip. Guess what? This is not a dip. This is not a dip. This is an incline, right? So we not looking for that. And then we know all of these other kind of things. Oh yeah, family, come on now. You know me. I'm here to teach. So let's talk about another concept. And I was doing a lot of research for you because, you know, we've been hearing time and time again about these rate hikes, about this, that, right? We getting news like this. What fear of a 50 basis point Fed rate hike says about future stock market volatility. We've been hearing all of these things. Family, let's break it down. Let's break it all the way down. So, oh yeah, and for those of you who don't understand the RSI, again, me as an educator, I feel like I got to make it simple. Let's go back to the charts before I go back to the basis point stuff. You see these lines up here, right at the very top? Whenever you see the RSI get all the way to 70, that means it's overbought. There's too many buyers. It's going too quick. It's going to come back down. And whenever you see the opposite of that, which it disappeared on us like it always does on Weeble, here we go, down here, means it's oversold. So over 70, RSI is overbought. And then under 30, that's where we get to the oversold, where it turns around. Zane, I appreciate you, big dog. My dog, again, shout out to you. Much love for the super chat, family. So now, let's talk about it. We've been hearing time and time again about this 50 basis points. And again, remember, a basis point, if you see 50 basis points, it just means 0.5%. 100 basis points means basically 1%. Let's take a look at a concept that I feel like they should have taught you in school, but they didn't. So then, you know what? Somebody got to do it, so then I'll just do it. So I want you to see this, because I've been trying to find out easy ways, and I found an easy graphic that basically explains everything that's going on. And I tell you this, it always comes back to the banks. It always comes back to the banks. Those of you who remember the dot-com bubble of the early 2000s, who was messing that up? A lot of the time, it was institutions over-leveraging themselves, and then banks is it there. It's always oil with the war. But a lot of the time with the recession and all of these things, it's also the banks, right? We're going to talk about what's going on with this. It's called the federal funds rate. I want y'all to remember this term. Put some headphones in the chat. The federal funds rate. This is one of the most important rates that you are ever going to learn about. Raphael, my dog, I appreciate you. The federal funds rate. Headphones in the chat. You ready for this? So, when you think about the federal funds rate, guess what? We have banks. And these banks, what they're doing is they're lending money to each other. Because the banks, believe it or not, the banks got to pay bills. The banks, they have to pay, basically, they got to keep some money in the Federal Reserve. They pay you because guess what? When you take out a loan or you take out all of these things, they're giving you money, but then they are also owing each other money. The banks owe each other money and they trade with each other, right? So then the banks, they're sending money to this bank, that bank, this bank. I'm talking Chase, Bank of America. I'm talking all of these different kind of real banks, right? So then there's an interest rate that they have amongst themselves. But who's in charge of this interest rate? And it's the feds, right? And it's called the federal funds interest rate. And remember, that's the rate that the interest rate or the banks have to pay to each other, right? And remember, this is the main thing in the economy right now, at least one of them, that's really going to impact and why you keep hearing about the Fed hikes, right? So check this out. The Fed changes, you see this little hand right here, they change these numbers. And what does it do? It either increases or decreases the rate of which, and let me move myself so you can see this a little bit better. Take a look at this. When the feds up this rate, Andrew, my dog, I appreciate you. Guess what goes up? The treasury bills go up, the student loans go up, auto loans go up, mortgage rates go up, all of these things go up. And then they do this to combat inflation. I want y'all to just see this little graphic right here. Check this out. Because again, I'm always going to teach you. I always want you to understand and learn the game.
However, it's important to keep in mind that while the Fed has considerable control over the federal funds rate, there are lots of different interest rates. In theory, these interest rates move together, and they're affected by the interest rate the Fed does influence.
All I want you to see is that little graphic. Look what happens when the one on the left moves up and when it moves down.
In theory, these interest rates move together.
This federal rate, they move it down. What happens to all of the other loans? What happens to them?
Affected by the interest rate.
They come down. It goes up. What happens to them? They go up. So when you hear that the Fed rate is going to go up, family, the federal funds interest rate, as that goes up, you could imagine the student loans rates that people are going to be taking nowadays, that's going to go up. You can imagine the auto loans rates, that's going to go up. You can imagine the mortgage rates, that's going to go up. All of these things are going to go up, and it's going to make borrowing money more and more expensive to do. So look at their example right now, where it's 3.75 of the federal funds rate. But guess what? Remember, the federal funds rate is that rate that banks are charging each other, right? For interest, for lending money to each other, right? So the banks, they always behind all of this. So then let's keep it going. And again, I'm telling you this, if you stick with me, hit the subscribe button, family, because I'm telling you, I'm always going to keep you in the know. I'm always going to make sure that you know what's going on behind closed doors, because there are so many different things that are happening that I tell you time and time again, there are distractions, so you don't criticize what they're doing. So you don't criticize the bank rates and how they hiking it. So you don't criticize many things. I'm going there today. So you don't criticize who they may or may not pick to get into the Supreme Court. Look at this, family. Now, again, shout out to this woman for getting in the Supreme Court. Yo, that's what I'm talking about. Getting into the Supreme Court is crazy hard. Shout out to her. But just know, the attention is not on it. So you may not even have heard that somebody, look who Biden's Supreme Court picked, right? You might not even have heard of this. You look at these videos, it didn't even get 400 views. We got more than 400 people in the building right now on a Friday night. You see what I'm saying? So there's so many things going on in the government, and they don't want you to pay attention to it. Just watch everything else, right? But I'm telling you, I got you always. It's always, all of the time. I will always have you back. So then let's go back and let's think, what is the Fed rate right now? That rate that the banks are charging each other in the background? It's basically 0.25. right? 0.25. So it's low. This is why when you go and get like you refinance your mortgage and all these other things kind of right now, you'll get a real low rate. So then people are willing to borrow money because the rates is low, right? But inflation is going through the roof, meaning that if you were to spend $100 last year on, let's say you buy this phone for $100, right? This same phone is going to cost you $107, 7.5 basically in 2022 compared to what it would have been last year because your dollars is losing money, right? So I got you. You said the Discord is fire. I appreciate you, family. Everybody also get in the Discord with us. I want to give a shout out to the whole family before I finish this talk about the rates. I want to give a shout out to the whole family. I said this 3 times straight in a row, and I just want to just love y'all and appreciate y'all because the Discord for 3 times straight in a row. 3 days ago, that was the highest amount of new members that we got in the Discord. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. Highest amount in the year. The next day after that, again, the same thing again. And then today, 3 days in a row, highest amount of people joining the Discord. So I want to say, let's get it. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And again, air horns for the family. Round of applause. Much love, family. So check this out. When we hear things about, for example, 50 basis points, interest rate hikes and all of this and that, family, look at this. If they raise this thing that is 25, this fund rate, right? If they raise this 50 basis points, family, this thing is going to go, come on now, to 70, from 25 to 75. You seen what happened when we looked at the graphic as an example, right? We seen, and let me just find that again, right here. As this thing goes up, right?
Interest rates move together.
It goes down, they go down. It goes up, they go up. Just like that, right? So all of the other loans, straight up. You see what's going to happen with that. So just be ready for the interest rates on the mortgages, on the credit cards, all these other things to go all the way up through the roof. And they make just borrowing money crazy expensive. And then what's going to happen also is the big dogs is going to pull their money up out of the stock market because look at this. The treasury yield, the 10-year treasury yield, as that goes up, they're going to say, look, the big dogs who own $1 trillion companies, we tired of risking our money on the stock market. We're going to put some of it into bonds, right? Into government bonds. So now you heard this phrase before, right? And it's this: inflation hits the highest level in 40 years in January as prices rise 7.5%. So what was 40 years ago, family? What was 40 years ago? Family, the 80s, right? The 80s was 40 years ago. So then, you know me, I always go and do my research. So let's do the research, baby. You said Keenan and Goat. I appreciate y'all. Just know, much love. What was 40 years ago? The 80s. Yo, Rashid, shout out to you. Gene Thornton again. I'm telling y'all, it's love, baby. It's love. It's love. The haters, they can't stand the love. They want it to be toxic, and that's goofy. We ain't having that, baby. So, again, hold up. Let me bring me back so y'all can see me a little bit better. Here we go. Hold up. Desktop. Boom. So, check this out. Inflation, we talking about the 80s. I want to give a shout out to everybody that was born in the 80s. First of all, shout out to y'all. Again, it's all the 80s babies. So, check this out. Let's go back and let's do some research. Because you know me, I'm always digging into research. I'm always behind the closed doors looking at, what does this mean? What does that mean? What's going on here? How can I teach this to the family? So then it says this: inflation began ratcheting up in the mid-60s and then reached 14% in the 80s. Inflation reached 14% in the 80s. That's crazy. And you know what the government did? Look at this. Let's look at the charts, family. Let's look at the charts together. When inflation, these are the percentages on the side, it reached 14%. And look, what did they do back then? Notice, I want to just give you a quick comparison. What did we just say the government had for the fund rate right now? The federal funds rate is 0.25. 0.25. Let's look at what they made it in the 80s when the interest rate went all the way up to 14%. Take a look at this. And again, you know me, I'm digging deep. I'm going into the research. The highest Fed fund rate was 1980, and they made it not 0.25%. They made it 20%, family. 20%. So the government is liable to do something crazy, but they like to give it to you in piecemeals, right? To try to combat that inflation. So they put it up to 20%, not 0.25 like today. 20%. So, okay, now let's go over here, and we keep hearing about this 50 basis points. They telling us that because what they want to do is they might want to do that 25 basis points or 50 basis points and do it multiple times so they could get us up to a high Fed fund rate where the banks use that interest rate on each other, right? So then let's check this out. Right here. Oil, like I always tell you, the oil prices. They were afraid that the oil prices were gonna go to $100. Family, it blew past $100 and now it's 105. Right? And again, they like to blame Ukraine and all of this other stuff like that. We already knew inflation was getting crazy. We knew the oil prices was getting crazy. So let's keep it going too. I just want to keep y'all up to date on all of that. And now I also want to just enlighten you with this. This is the Dow Jones. And the reason we're looking at the Dow Jones is because the Dow Jones has been around for over 100 years. So then we can look. It's kind of like looking at the SPY, where you're looking at the total stock market or the Fortune 500 companies or whatever, right? So you look at the Dow, and then you could check it for a century. And I want you to just see this. Back in the year 1915, where some of y'all is from, stop acting like you're not that old. Stop playing with us. No, I'm playing with you, you know. But let's talk about it. Back then, the Dow, compared to today's prices, was about $2,000. It tanked. Years later, down to 1,000. It shot up all the way to 4,000, right? And it's going up and it's going down. But when you zoom out and you can see long-term, family, this thing goes up. The stock market goes up, 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 up over time. So when you see a dip come, don't be afraid, family. You got to be on point. You understand what I'm saying? You got to be on point. How do you be on point? When everybody else is selling it down here, you need to be buying it down there. So let's just keep it real. And let's just say that. And one thing that I wanted to just mention as well is I was talking to someone and they said something that I was like, wow, like it sounded kind of silly to me. But then when I heard it, it made so much sense. And someone said, and I had to even Google it because I wanted to just get a formal definition, but there was no formal definition. The definition was on the Urban Dictionary. Somebody said, Keenan, I feel like so many people are participating in the Struggle Olympics. I'm like, the Struggle Olympics? Like, what do you mean by that? I had to go look it up myself to just double check, right? And it's this. It says, when people talk about who has really struggled and who has not, and what they're trying to do is one up each other in a social setting, saying, look, you win in this world. You are the person that is able to win because you had this luxury, right? Because your parents were like this, because you had this silver spoon, or you went to this school. That's why you're winning and I'm not winning, right? That's what people are doing. And they're saying, look, they're getting into these Struggle Olympics with each other, but I don't want to see you in the Struggle Olympics. I want you to have all of those reasons. Like, you know what? Your parents didn't teach you about investing. You understand? You didn't go to a good school. The only thing you learned at school was that your teacher was telling Michael or Little Ray Ray or whoever to, man, Little Ray Ray, sit down. That's all you heard all day because the teacher's battling. You didn't get to learn in school, right? So you might have had these type of experiences. You didn't go to a good school. You didn't learn about investing. Nobody in your family ever became a millionaire, right? And if they ever did, they probably was 95, right? So then you think like, yo, maybe if I was them, I could do it. I don't want you to think that. I don't want you to think that. I want you to see these times that we have right now and say, look, I'm not getting into the Struggle Olympics with nobody else. I don't need to one up them. You understand me? I don't need to one up and say, yo, you could do this because you got it easy. No, even if you have it hard, you could still do it too. Now, how do you do it? You got to realize, like I was just telling you with the Dow Jones, if it's coming down, baby, guess what? Who is this dropping on? This is dropping on people who already own all of the stocks. I'm talking Elon Musk. I'm talking Jeff Bezos. All of these people, their wealth is cutting in by 10% a day with the ways that the market is moving, right? So then where's this money going? It should be transferring over to you by basically transferring to you owning more of their companies, more of their stocks and things like that, and then waiting for it to go all the way up, baby. So let's keep that in mind. Now, like I was saying, with this bearish divergence or bullish divergence that we see, family, please, it's bearish divergence where it's coming down. I want you to just be prepared and and basically just not surprised. When the market come down, how do you get prepared? You got to pay yourself first. How do you pay yourself first? I tell you time and time again. And my guy, Rashid, I got you. AMD is a banger, and you should pick it up when it drop. You understand? But look, it's moving like the overall market right now. Look at this. Overall market ran up and then got flat. So when the overall market comes back down, look to pick this up at $100 if you get the chance. So let's keep it going. I want you to say, look, you know what? My parents didn't teach me how to invest. My mom, my dad, whoever, my school was bad, this and that and the third. Oh, I woke up and I had pink eye. Whatever your reason is, you still going to get rich because you're going to make a strategy and you're going to make it happen. And how you going to do it? You're going to start to pay yourself first. Let's say that you got, I don't know, let's go to a calculator. You know I like pulling out the calculator. Let's go to the calculator. Let's say that you get paid $1,000. I better not hear that you are spending $1,000. I don't want to hear that. Oh man, you know, if my parents, if my mom, if my dad would have taught me, no. Maybe they didn't. Maybe you could teach them, especially if they still around. And shout out to all of y'all that still got your parents and grandparents. Maybe you could show them that, listen, you may have had these habits, but now together that we got the knowledge, we're going to spread it through the family. That's why I'm always trying to spread the knowledge through the family. I want you to spread the knowledge through your family as well. So if you got $1,000, you don't have to give $1,000 to your phone bill, to your car bill. You don't got to give it to the mortgage. You don't got to give that money back. You got to make sure that you have you got to become a bill in your own life. That's how we got to look at it. You got to become a bill. And what do I mean? You got to have an account. Let's call it a Bank of America account, a Discover account, Ally Bank account. And then that needs to be waiting. Just like the car bill is waiting, just like the mortgage bill is waiting, that account needs to be waiting too. Oh yeah, you got to pay us $100 at least. You getting $1,000? You need to pay me $100 at least. Right? And as you keep putting in this 100, you keep putting this 100 again and again and again. At the end of the year, family, you're going to have $1,200 that you did not have before. And that's what I'm talking about. And then we're going to multiply this by the average return on the stock market. Right? We're going to multiply it by 10%. Hold up. Let me see if it'll let me do it. We're going to multiply this by 1.10. Right? And we're going to get, boom, you're going to have $1,300, $1,320. So that's what I'm talking about. You say you can't see it? My bad. I got you. Here we go. But you heard what I was saying. So you get $1,200. That's what's going on. So I want you to really understand. I appreciate y'all for that. But you better pay yourself first. That's what I want you to understand. Pay yourself first. You got to become in your own life saying, look, I got to pay the mortgage. I got to pay the car. And I got to pay my account. Always. I got to make sure that I get paid. When your boss or your job or your business or your rental properties or whatever, your dividends pays you, what do you get to keep? What do you get to keep? And that's what's important. So we want to grow that amount every single time, every single month. So again, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'm getting up out of here. I want y'all to join the Discord. Get up on. Oh, whoa. I ain't going nowhere yet. I got to show y'all this. I ain't going nowhere yet. I'm staying on with the family, baby. This Friday Night Live. Hold up. Hit that like button, join the Discord with us, but we keeping it going. You ready? So let's talk about it. We got some things to talk about, baby. I can't believe I almost left y'all on that. I'm not leaving y'all on that. I'm in the building, baby. So here we go. The U.S. stock rally finishes on a turbulent week, right? So notice that we had a rally even though everything going on in the economy. Let's see what's going on with that, because I got to show y'all how people are buying a dip and how crazy they buying a dip. It's Friday Night Live and we in the building with my dogs. Come on now. They thought we was gonna leave? Stupid. I'm not. So here we go. Investors bought the dip over the last 2 days, basically waiting back shares rapidly of growing companies and Bitcoin. Look at this. It said that they bought, and this was between Monday and Thursday, not even counting Friday, they bought 3.6 billion, not of crazy penny stocks, not of super high volatile, all kind of different things like crazy cryptocurrencies, like little, what they would call, I'm not even gonna say, you know what kind of coin that begin with a SHI, and then there we go, the coins, they will call it. So they ain't talking about that. They talking about people buying ETFs, exchange traded funds. This is the Wall Street Journal saying that of $3 billion that was put into, of $3.6 billion, $3 billion of that was put from all the way from Monday through Thursday in ETFs. You know who been saying ETFs from the beginning of the year, even before the stock market came down? We've been talking about ETFs. We've been talking about VTI. Y'all remember that, right? We've been talking about all of these different kind of things. Come on now. And look, the Wall Street Journal is saying that just this week, everybody else is starting to pick it up and catch on. So now check this out. It says investors furiously shifted bets on how the Federal Reserve will proceed with interest rate hikes during the Ukraine and Russia invasion, all these other kind of things. But what are they doing? I highlighted this in blue just for you. They are buying exchange traded funds, and they've been loading up $3.6 billion, and they spent $3 billion of that on ETFs, family. Like, for example, like I'm telling you, VTI, they're talking about basically SPDR, but it's just basically similar. So now let's also go over to this, because I want you to watch this. Where is it? Let me just double check. Where did I put this one? I think it is right here. Russia vetoes UN Security Council resolution. Putin's money is now the target of certain sanctions. So Putin, again, he's the guy who is basically the president of Russia, the leader of Russia. And now they're looking to try to target his money. But again, I'm telling you this, they've been preparing for this for a long time, right? So, and who? Russia. So we just got to be on the lookout for everything going on, because it's not done. And now for those of you who don't know, take a look at this. The USSR back in the day, the Soviet Union, right? You see this big red area here? This is Russia. You see this yellow area here? This is Ukraine. Russia is invading Ukraine from basically three different sides, from the top, from the bottom, and basically straight. So then what's going on here? Russia's, and many people, there are whispers going around that Russia is trying to basically re-engage the whole Soviet Union. So you could imagine that these companies on the other ends, these other colorful countries right here, not companies, countries, they better be on the lookout too for what can happen. So this could get a lot worse before it gets a lot better. So now the reason that I'm saying this is because we have to watch out for what's going to happen in the world and in the market. Now let's see, because again, they keep trying these new sanctions again and again and again with Putin, and it's not being very effective. So let's watch this together. So it looks like we're going to get an ad. So excuse me, while we get an ad, let me just put the thing back on me and let that ad play out. So, all right, look. Now, you said Russia is buying everything. I'm telling you, it's getting crazy. So here we go. Let's check this out together.
Some guidance as to what kind of role China might play here over the next few days. Morning, you.
And I want you to see this, because particularly those of us who are invested in companies like NEO, for example, China is playing it on Russia's side, and this is gonna impact Chinese held EVs and things like that, because of we always talked about it. When it comes to NEO, the profits from us being able to make profits on the stock, the politics is getting in the way of the profits. But again, here we go with more of the politics. Now this one's looking a little choppy, but we're gonna play it anyway. I'm gonna see if I could up the quality of this video, because you can't even I no disrespect, I guess Jim Cramer looks exactly the same. He barely look any different to me. But let's play the video, and let me minimize myself over here so you can see it a little bit better. But yeah, Jim Cramer, this guy, he look a little fuzzy. Jim Cramer looking exactly the same. But let's go. I gotta stop playing around.
We do have Eunice here, who's going to give us some guidance as to what kind of role China might play here over the next few days. Morning, Eunice.
Morning, Carl. Well, China's foreign ministry confirmed tonight that President Putin did speak on the phone with President Xi Jinping today, and that the two had discussed Ukraine, and President Putin had told President Xi that he's willing to have high-level negotiations with Ukraine. The ministry added that President Xi told Putin that he backed the Russian leader.
Did you hear that? They said that the president over in China is backing the Russian leader. That's not a good sign for EV companies. I'm just going to keep it real with you all the time.
President Xi told Putin that he backed the Russian leader, resolving the issue through negotiations, and repeated China's long-held stance on the importance of respecting other countries' sovereignty. Now, up till now, China has shown support for Russia, refraining from calling the attack on Ukraine as an invasion, but it has also been indicating that it has a certain level of discomfort with Russia's move, because it does breach China's long-held view view, and what it says is important, is a key principle of their foreign policy, and that is non-interference in other states' sovereignty. Also, China has indicated it's uncomfortable with the level of uncertainty that could bring to the economy here. Now, Carl, Jim, I thought your conversation about the idea of China playing a mediator role really interesting, because for some historical context, China has offered to play mediator for a lot of other very difficult negotiations between the Israelis and the Palestinians.
China's going to play a mediator role? What are they talking about?
The Afghan government and the Taliban, between India and Pakistan. Not all of the countries have or different parties have ever taken China up on the offer, because it's not always seen as an honest broker.
And I can't lie, this woman right here, I feel bad for her. It seemed like she reading like there's an assassin on top of the building and she's trying not to disappoint him.
Clear if in this situation Ukraine would take China up on that role if it were to come to pass. And Carl, that's because so far China has really shown that some tacit support for Russia. That said, Ukraine has China as a very important trading partner, and in fact, the two just celebrated 30 years of diplomatic relations last month.
Is the mainstream media really talking about how, hold up, let's I gotta hear that again. Please add, don't play right now. They just said, and again, no disrespect to her, because she's doing a great job. She's in a tough situation. She could very well be in Ukraine. You don't even know where she is. You know what I mean? She could very well be over in Ukraine, and it's dangerous out there. We already know what time it is. So why would Ukraine take up any proposition? And I'm not going to get into the politics, but why would Ukraine take up any proposition about? Why would Ukraine take up a proposition from China in this instance? They got bigger things to worry about.
Negotiations between the Israelis and the Palestinians, between the Afghan government and the Taliban, between India and Pakistan. Not all of the countries have or different.
If you are not here under your own free will, blink twice. Please, lady.
Have ever taken China up on the offer, because it's not always seen as an honest broker, and it's unclear if in this situation Ukraine would take China up on that role if it were to come to pass.
Yeah, that would be crazy if Ukraine tries to take China up on that. But again, we'll see what can happen. Maybe it'll work out. Maybe it won't. It don't seem like a good idea to me. But again, I'm not going to be the judge of that. So on another note, it's getting crazy over in Ukraine. It's getting real crazy. And they saying that Russian troops are basically continuing to advance to the capital and all these other kind of things. Like, yo, I'm telling you, man. Hold on, let me skip this ad real quick and let's watch this together. Let me let this load in. Who knows what's going on? Them data scientists probably here. Yep, you're right. He said it's always about the politics. I'm telling you, the politics getting away. The politics getting away of the profits more often than not. And we hate to see it, but we know what time it is. You understand? We know what time it is. We know how they getting down. We know that all of this stuff is to distract. You know what I mean? It's to distract you, and it's really working. It's really working. And in this case, let's actually go and let's look at something together. Let's go and let's look at NEO, because this is not good for NEO. The fact that China is getting involved in it, and a lot of us do hold NEO stock, and I'm willing to hold NEO long term, especially if a company like NEO, for example, is, let's call it, they're gonna still sell EVs. They're still gonna do exactly what we know they're gonna do. Then, you know what I mean? It'll work out for me. It'll make sense. So other than that, I'm holding NEO long term, 2030, like I was telling y'all. But you already know what time it is. So when we look at NEO, we see that it's trading so flat. Look at this. You see how flat this is? People want to buy NEO at these prices, but they're afraid. They're afraid. And I'm holding my NEO. I'm holding it. But it's still, just know, I might be able to get into some short-term NEO puts or some short-term NEO calls. You already know what time it is. So, again, let's see if we can watch this together, if it finally going to load in. Now, check some of this out. It says, Russian troops continue to advance.
NATO has activated its response force, the first time the alliance has...
Also, one thing that I hate about the stock market and the politics in general, family, is this. Hold up. Let me make sure you can see this. Let's understand, because you keep hearing about NATO. What is NATO? Let's talk about it, right? Look at this. North Atlantic Treaty Organization, right? NATO. That's what NATO is. So then let's see. How many countries in NATO? There are 30 countries in NATO. What is NATO again? The North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Remember, you come here, you're going to learn something today. And if not, I'm going to hit you with the notepad. Bow. But here we go. So there are 30 countries in it, according to this, right? And basically, it's an alliance, right? And if you in NATO, then you get support. If you're not in NATO, then generally you won't. So let's keep it going. You could kind of think of it not exactly, but similar-ish to the United Nations, right? It's 30 nations who are united and they partner together, and it's considered the most powerful alliance in the world. But the alliance is based on its 30 allied partnered nations, right, to support missions and operations. So, okay, now that we know what that is, let's try this. You keep hearing NATO.
NATO has activated its response force, the first time the alliance has ever activated the 40,000-man force for a deterrence and defense role. The push toward Kyiv reportedly going slower than the Russians had expected, especially in the past 24 hours. The Pentagon saying...
Imagine how terrifying this is. Look at this. Look at all of these tanks, and they're driving by these houses. The reason I show you things like this is because I always want you to realize that all of this stuff, and no disrespect, it's a lot of propaganda to try to scare you out of the, yo, let's go. We got it again, baby. We got a family member. I'm telling y'all show me so much love that I know some of these people be hating. Could we get 100 in the chat, family? 100 in the chat. My guy, Pro Dipper, my guy. $100 super chat. Show him some love, family. Put 100s in the chat. We appreciate you, big dog, keeping the lights on here and keeping the haters mad because they ain't getting love. When you give love, you get love, and I appreciate you for that, big dog. And again, let's get it back going. Much love. 100s in the chat. Pro Dip, yeah, my guy, my dog. But let's keep it going, baby. You ready? So here we go.
Been greater resistance by Ukrainians than the Russians we are planning for. It appears the Russians have lost a little momentum. A senior defense official telling us only about a third of the 150,000 troops amassed on the border are actually fighting. And as a...
And my dog, I just want to just comment on that again. Appreciate you, my guy. And just know, when everybody say the YouTube comment sections is toxic and all of this, look, you show love and then everybody show you love because we all a family here and we want to see each other win. And there's no jealousy or no nothing like that. So we keep all of that negativity somewhere else. So again, I appreciate y'all. So let's keep going, baby. Much love.
Now, Russia had...
And look at this. I'm telling you, time and time again, the propaganda. Look at these older women. It looks like they're trying to walk down the street. And what is this? An airplane? A bombshell? What is that? Right? You're going to keep seeing it. You're going to keep seeing things like this. It's again. And what is propaganda? Hold up. Let's ask Siri. Let's go ahead and let's ask Siri because we talked about this earlier. You said Keenan to go. I appreciate you, big dog. Hey, Siri, how are you? Oh, you don't got nothing to say today. Hey, Siri, how are you?
Hey, I can't complain. Thanks for asking.
Neither can I. Siri, what is propaganda? Hey, Siri, what is propaganda?
Here's what I found.
Here's what I found? Yo, where my notepad at, Siri? Siri, define propaganda.
Propaganda means information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Do you want to hear the remaining one?
No. You can shut up now. Appreciate you.
Committed the majority of its forces inside Ukraine. Thousands of Russian Navy infantry.
Take a look at this. Look at how Russia is surrounding them. They're everywhere. This is Ukraine, and these are where Russians are like just based and attacking them. It's crazy, and we're gonna keep seeing stuff like this. You see what I'm saying? We're gonna keep on seeing stuff like this. And right, Siri goofy, straight up.
Infantry landed near the coastal city of Mariupol, which...
These are the Russian troops on this indicator right here.
Could see heavy fighting and about 200 ballistic and cruise missiles fired at targets in Ukraine, some of which...
Oh yeah, warning. Some of these things, my bad, let me go back. Some of these things are gonna be, TJ, I appreciate you, big dog, always. I don't know why I'm trying to get used to this. I got a Stream Deck app on my phone, right? And watch this. When I press a button, boom, I get a new thing. I press a button, boom, I get a new screen, baby. So, oh yeah, this is where my soundboard is too. I'm used to just using it for sound. Look at this. Here we go. But yo, could we get some caps? Could we get some caps in the chat for the media? Put some caps in the chat. Here we go.
Stop the cap.
Stop the cap. Put some caps in the chat.
Stop the cap.
All right, and let's go back to the desktop screen. These right here are the Russian troops. Look at how they are surrounding the entire Ukraine, and they're trying to get into here. I cannot pronounce this. I want to say it's Kiev or Kiev. Again, I never heard it said out loud. No disrespect, but let's go.
And about 200 ballistic and cruise missiles fired at targets in Ukraine, some of which have hit civilian areas. Joining us now with the very latest, ABC.
Some of which have hit civilian areas.
Joining us now with the very latest, ABC's Phil Lipoff, who's in Poland for us, ABC's Aaron Katursky in Lviv, Ukraine, and White House correspondent Mary Ellis Parks here in our nation's capital. Thanks.
I gotta admit, you know me, I'm a straight shooter. I didn't know how the Saturday or the Friday Night Live was gonna go, and I think it's lit. I just gotta say that. I think it's lit. But let's keep it going.
For being with us once again. Aaron, I want to start with you. State Department officials saying that Russian troops are still advancing on Kyiv. What's the latest from there?
Kyiv came under heavy bombardment earlier today, Kira, and then there was something of a pause after we heard evidence of heavy fighting and artillery on the outskirts of the capital city. It's believed that the Russian troops paused their advance to resupply, to reinforce, and that's now believed to be completed. There was some talk of a diplomatic solution or some willingness on the part of both Presidents Putin and Zelensky to have some conversation, but the pretext for that...
Yo, no disrespect. This got to be the most flip-flopping media I've ever seen. Did you just hear that? A diplomatic solution? I feel like we got a little bit beyond that at this point. Let's hear that.
That's now believed to be completed. There was some talk of a diplomatic solution or some willingness on the part of...
Diplomatic solution? Didn't you just show me them getting bombed? Hold up.
Targets in Ukraine, some of which have hit civilian areas. Joining us now with the...
They're bombing civilian areas and then diplomatic solution? Those two things don't go together.
The latest, ABC's...
To reinforce, and that's now believed to be completed. There was some talk of a diplomatic solution or some willingness on the part of both Presidents Putin and Zelensky to have some conversation, but the pretext for that made us think that maybe this was just a stall tactic on the part of the Russians, and Putin may not...
Diplomatic solution for you. This looks diplomatic to me, huh? Or do it look like BS than the mainstream media? You be the judge.
Interested in any kind of a diplomatic solution. So it's believed that sometime soon, possibly within the next 24 hours, the Russians are going to resume their assault on Kyiv. They're already in the outskirts of the city.
Now they're going to resume their assault? What happened to the diplomatic solution? Yo, caps in the chat. Caps in the chat. And for those of you who don't understand what that means, it means these are lies.
to resume their assault on Kyiv. They're already in the outskirts of the city, and we're told they may have as many as 10 entry points planned where they could simultaneously enter the capital and try to take it over. In just the last little while, Ukrainian President Zelensky posted a selfie video right outside of his office, and he was surrounded by Ukrainian officials, and he said, "We're all here. We're all defending the country." The U.S. believes the Russians may have been slowed down a bit by the ferocity of the Ukrainian defense. Ukrainian citizens have been given weapons. They've been given instructions how to make bombs out of bottles filled with gasoline and a dish rag.
What? They learn how to do what? Wait, whoa. Say that again.
A selfie video right last little while. Ukrainian President Zelensky posted a selfie video right outside of his office, and he was surrounded by Ukrainian officials, and he said, "We're all here. We're all defending the country." The U.S. believes the Russians may have been slowed down a bit by the ferocity of the Ukrainian defense. Ukrainian citizens have been given weapons. They've been given instructions how to make bombs out of bottles filled with gasoline and a dish rag, but
they are teaching citizens how to make bombs, and they're giving them weapons. It's getting crazy over there that the average everyday person, and this is why this is so sad, the everyday person, they getting caught up in this, family. Imagine that someone came to your door from the government and they telling you how to make a bomb because it's so dangerous. So like, this is ridiculous.
How to make bombs out of bottles filled with gasoline and
I didn't know that. If you knew that was happening, let me know. Yes, I knew, or say no, I didn't know. Let me know in the comments. I didn't know that it was to the point that the government was teaching everyday citizens how to make bombs. Yo.
Drag, but Kira, the Russians have tanks.
Well, let me.
They've been given instructions how to make bombs out of bottles filled with gasoline and a dish rag, but Kira, the Russians have tanks.
Well, let me ask you about this video that we're looking at.
The Russians do have tanks, but hey, it's better to have something rather than nothing. I gotta say that for sure.
That the president did post. I mean, how's that impacting morale?
Well, I think it's a morale boost, or at least it's meant to be, that and the 30% pay hike for Ukrainian military troops that we're starting to hear about now. But Zelensky has said he is target number one, and he wanted to show that he's not going anywhere, that he is going to remain in Kyiv, remain with the people, even though it's widely believed here that the Russians do want to remove him and establish their own government here in Ukraine.
It's so wild to see the video. How often do you see that on behalf of a president? You know, Mary Alice, the UN Refugee Agency, estimating that some 100,000 Ukrainians now, though, have already been forced from their homes. So is the White House planning to step in any way to attend to this?
Yeah, Kira, for the last few weeks, we've been hearing reports the State Department and USAID have been pre-positioning resources to try to help with a pending humanitarian crisis. And yesterday, the White House did announce that there would be a 17-person disaster relief team sent to Poland. I asked...
Oh, yeah, I know you heard about that. There are people who are just like in the train, like in the subways. They don't got nowhere to go. They're afraid they're going to get bombed, so they went underground. This is getting crazy.
And Psaki there in the White House briefing room, if 17 people was remotely enough, she said, of course, no, this was just one step, that the White House was committed to continuing to help with humanitarian assistance. They are very worried that this will soon escalate not only to such an unbelievable sort of military scene, all this violence on the ground, but a humanitarian crisis as tens of thousands continue to flee their homes.
Well, Phil, I know that you can weigh in on this and the refugees, the thousands that have fled already into Poland where you are. Tell us what you're seeing and what you're hearing now.
Well, Kira, Mary Alice lays it out really well. You gave that 100,000.
And again, I just want to say this. I mentioned this earlier, but do you remember, like someone just mentioned in the comments, and I said this earlier, do you remember when all of this stuff, it was all about COVID? This had to be less than a month ago, right? And now we got a new boogeyman, to the point that the media, it used to be to the point where if you went to a party, they would get on your back about not wearing a mask and all of this stuff. They just gave all of that up. And now it's all about the new boogeyman, right? A new bad guy for everyone to watch and everyone to say, we got to defeat this. And it just makes you think, did we ever cure it? Did the vaccines ever work all the way? Like, it makes you think, oh no, forget about all of that now. We got to focus on this, right? So let's just keep it going.
Some people have already crossed borders. And of course, one of the borders they're crossing is the Polish border. And we're in Lublin, just about 60 miles from there. This town that I'm in, this city, is about 300,000. Poland as a whole, we're told, has about 2 million Ukrainians living here. So many of the Ukrainians that come across the border will have family and friends to go to, but those who don't, one aid worker has told...
And I want you to see how strategic the media is. Notice what they made sure they took a video of. A little kid, right, with a bear.
The border will have family and friends to go to, but those...
Make sure you get a picture of the kids, right? We got to make sure everybody sees these types of images.
Who don't. One aid worker has told ABC News that the Polish government is setting up these reception centers. They are not meant to be camps. They are not meant to house refugees, but they're reception centers to help transition Ukrainians who come into this country into what they do next. As for how many this country can hold, we don't have numbers on that yet because we really don't know how bad the crisis is going to get. We do know the line to get into this country in a car is miles long. Our Matt Gutman was on the border.
I want y'all to see all of these people. This is why I'm trying to highlight this. I want to use my platform to highlight this. And the reason it is because where you see women, men, children, everybody, all of the people, right? And what the powers that be, the elite, they just see pawns. They see a means to an end. And all of these people are being used just to move across the chessboard, family, and they right in the middle of something that has nothing to do with them. Nothing to do with them at all. So they just being used and they're getting killed in these instances, and it's crazy to see it.
Showing the trains that hundreds of people coming off the trains, sleeping on the trains. And this is just the second day of Russia going into Ukraine. And already we're seeing tens of thousands of people cross the border. So, Kira, it no doubt is going to get much worse.
All right, and Mary Alice, finally, before we let you...
Flavor of God, appreciate you for the super chat. Much love. And Jackie, I appreciate you too. Come on now, I got your back. Much love again. Straight up. Appreciate y'all for the super chat.
A senior official apparently signaled that Putin is not interested still in a diplomatic solution. I think we already knew that. Russian troops are now said to be resupplied and plan to these entrance points into Kyiv. What more can you tell us about this, and how do you think the Biden administration will respond to these latest moves?
Yeah, Kira, I think that's the million-dollar question. The White House was asked repeatedly yesterday if anything would change the U.S. assessment to not send a...
Great question. I want to address a question. I appreciate you for asking it. Let me see who asked this question. I wish I knew how to highlight questions and put them up on the screen, but let's talk about it. Someone just asked, William S., how are the people being used? When you look at what's going on the mainstream media, you see that how do you get funding for things? How do you get support for things? You show images like this. You show buildings being bombed, right? You show that it's just all kind of different things like this. You would show these kind of things to just get a message across, to push your own beliefs across, even when the powers that be don't care anything about these people at all. They just want to get their message across. They want to, and this is how they're being used. They're being used, and what'll happen is, once all this is said and done, and there are people who lost their fathers, people who lost their mothers, their children, and all of that, guess what? These same news outlets and all of these that are interested in them today, they ain't gonna be interested in them in a year when these little kids have to grow up without fathers. You understand? They're not going to be interested in them. That's how they're being used, to manipulate your emotions. And we see through it all. We see through it all. And these are real people going through real things. And then the powers that be, they don't